Right, so let's kick off.
All right.
Correct, I am not Dale Thorn. Dale, as you know, started his new role this week at Fivetran. Really excited for him. Um, and so I'm Dave Wilkins, the co-founder of SDR Leaders of USA. We've got a really interesting session here for you all around how to get technology and how to justify that. It's a critical topic for us as leaders about how we can go about in getting that for our teams to make them more efficient and more productive. So just a few of the housekeeping rules. If you have questions throughout, put them into the chat. Rob knows I'm going to interrupt him at periods to get those questions answered. And then also to let you know, we're going to be SDR Leaders of USA is going to be off on their road trip starting next week. We're going to be in Dallas and in Raleigh. I'm going to put the link to all the events that we've got upcoming. Tickets are free, and it'd be great to see some of you as well in real life. So, with that said, Rob, over to you.
All right, let's do this. Got a good amount of content here for the next 30 minutes. I'll try to work through it pretty efficiently, but just want to keep this pretty relaxed and casual, organic. So if you do have really hard-hitting questions, come off the mic or throw it in the chat. Dave will stop me. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see the chat as I'm presenting full screen. We haven't figured that out in 2025 yet. At least I haven't. So really excited to chat with this for you guys. Let's get started. All right. We good to go? Can you see my screen here? I actually think I can see the chat.
Yes, all good.
All right, let's roll. All right, so here we are. Stop getting your tech rejected. Build business cases executives can't ignore. The reason I want to do this topic is I've spent the last 10 years working on top of funnel go-to-market strategy at companies. There we go. So I've been working past 10 years, top of funnel go-to-market strategies at different companies from small to large. And I've noticed a trend that, a lot of us want to fight to get our teams the best infrastructure, especially in 2025. The job has gotten harder, but a lot of us are managers, team leads, directors, and we don't have a seat at the executive table. So how do we get especially unbudgeted purchases across the line? It's not very easy, and it's an area that a lot of people aren't spending a lot of time in, or you don't get much opportunity to actually do. So I just want you to know that you don't have to be a VP to solve a big problem. I know that I'm a VP right now, but all the softwares you see on the screen right there, I'd say 80% of those I purchased when I was a team lead, a manager, a director across the board. And this is the process I went and put in place to make sure I could get these things for my team and continue to deliver results for them. So I've spent the last 10 years doing this. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always down for a chat on BD Trends. I'm always trying to find an edge for my team. So let's talk through this. A lot of the tech pitches you find, they fail. It's not because your idea was wrong or not sound, but the business case was just weak. So I want to go over first, like 10 tips I have from 10 years of buying software. Then we'll talk about the CFO checklist that you can put every business case that you've gone through the ringer to make sure it's going to get through and get done. And then let's talk about two specific examples of software I actually bought in the last 6 months, one of which is recently as 30 days ago. So the first one, you need to listen to and observe your senior executives' priorities. If you have OKRs, this gets incredibly easy. If you have other strategic planning approaches, this is a lot easier to do. But as a leader, you want to constantly be listening for keywords, key themes that continue to arise from your boss, from your boss's boss, but also from your peers across different areas. You have town halls once a month, once a quarter. What are the North Star metrics that people are constantly trying to drive and solve for? Sometimes these things are churn. Sometimes these things are going up market, driving more enterprise value, raising contract values, penetrating your top 5 verticals. There's a lot of different areas that you want to lean into, but just so you know, if you don't have something budgeted for, getting something across the line that doesn't align to your senior executive or board level priorities is going to be very, very difficult. So constantly observe and listen to these things. And if you don't know, just ask. If you're at a lower level and you're not sure, ask what these things are. And this is the pitfall that a lot of people make. So for point number 2, Managers are always trying to solve their team's problems. Calling with low connect rate sucks, or my data is bad, or I'm not able to manage all my different task loads. Like, this would be so great for us. It makes our job way easier. The day is, not as brutal and already hard job. We need to focus on solving company problems. So, and you can do both. You just have to tie in what your team's experiencing to more downstream implicated pains, which I'll walk you through. But you could definitely bring a win to your team and a win to your executives. And when you find those win-wins, that's where you really thrive. Third is one that a lot of people don't understand when you don't manage budgets, but budgets are incredibly fluid. There's almost always budget if you're solving a big enough problem. It's actually one of the only ways you can actually manufacture urgency when you're selling as well, is attach yourself to a massive problem. So what does this look like in a pragmatic example? Think of it in mainly monthly run rates and quarterly run rates. If you're looking at your salary, you've got someone who cost $120,000 for the year. They're $10,000 per month that you're using. So think about this. If you miss a hire by a month, if other teams are missing hiring by each month, you're starting to unlock budget that wasn't used yet each month and each quarter. The finance team is trying to true that up at the end of every quarterly cycle. So there is areas to pull and push from when business doesn't go exactly according to plan. There's also always some level of a discretionary budget that you can pull from. And also your RevOps peers and friends over there typically have a reserve aligned to some level of strategic initiatives that you can deploy. So if you can attach yourself to those things, you can almost always pull budget. So yes, there wasn't budget aligned for this because we didn't even know this was going to be a planned spend. But if you can quantify the cost of an action and quantify the impact that you'll have from this platform or solution, you can start to actually pull from budget you didn't even know you had. And I'd say 70 to 80% of what I bought never had a line item for it because we're trying to buy a lot of emerging things. Seek out risk early and often. I like to understand why my IT team or CFO or data team would block my purchase right at the very beginning. Saves you a lot of pain. So ask if you have their support to even investigate this type of idea. And you have a hypothesis of what it could possibly drive. And they might tell you there how strong your case is and if it's not tying to your senior level priorities. So I'm looking to, not for my happy years of why we should do this, I want everyone to tell me why it will not happen. And then that's how you build your case around it to de-risk. Fifth, one thing that I really love doing is put the AE to work that you're working with. The whole job of them is to be buyer enablement. Like once the contract is signed, all the risk transfers from the seller to you. So de-risk your sale as much as possible while you still have them working for you and on your problem. I make them make the business cases for me and I put them through the ringer with it because they're going to get paid handsomely for it. So I'm going to put them to work. Don't think that it's all on you. Same with that. Multi-threading is not just for the seller. Create momentum. I put stars around the stuff that I uniquely like to do. No one's really taught me that, but I like to create momentum internally and start evangelizing my idea and the results and the idea around what we could possibly do to other people. And when you tie that to number 7, if you start to think about how you solve multiple problems across multiple business units, the stickier idea becomes and that idea starts to gain momentum. So are there things that you could source at a BD level that drives AE level production as well? What about if there's things that could also offset churn later downstream by sourcing healthier deals? There's areas that you can have more than just your team. Get that across there, then you have multiple budgets and multiple impacts you can pull from. Number 8, deliver wins, evangelize results. Put stars on this because this is where a lot of people fail. It's a credibility loop. You start small. You're not going to get 250 grand off the start. Maybe get $10,000. Make that person who signed the line for you know that you delivered 30, 60, 90 days after. Have these success milestones in place where you can then pay them back with impact when they paid you back with their own budget. So constantly do that. Then you get more rope, go for a bigger deal, and a bigger deal moving forward. And then you start to associate what you do and your brand with outcomes. Push for POCs, pilots, and trials. So real business data makes the cases solid. So everyone's going to tell you they can't do pilots. That's not true. You just have to push back a little bit. There are some softwares where the setup is so intensive, et cetera, that they don't want to spend all that time. And it also is just a lot of time risk for them. That's where these are more expensive platforms. And that's where you can do a paid pilot, a smaller land. Again, de-risk it with a smaller land. And lastly, think in terms of CAC or cost per opportunity or cost per meeting. If you can associate what you're doing to decrease the cost of that lever, it's so much easier to model out the rest of your assumptions downstream. And lastly, if you're not willing to put your name on the line for software, you don't have enough conviction. So why should they? So bring that to the table only when you think you're ready for it. So CFO.
Real quick, Rob.
What's up?
Question, Colton here. How's it going, man? Hey, when we talk buyer enablement, we're thinking about like an internal EBs on our side. What do you usually see that works the best, right? They're busy people, it needs to be digestible. What do you need to ensure is in that buyer enablement that's delivered by the AE or in conjunction with you and the AE?
It's a good question. I have some examples near the end of just like the impact statements. And as we go through this checklist, these are the things that they care about that you'll see. So hopefully we'll answer that as we go along. But if not, I'm very happy to jump in. And I'm curious too, as I start to go through this, I'd be curious, what problem are you trying to solve or what solution are you trying to get forward right now that you haven't been able to yet or you're in the process of? Whether it's a dialer, contact information, signal platforms. I'm just very curious what's hot right now for you guys. All right, so this is a checklist that you can put your deals through or your software through every time. And if you can come out unscathed through these 10 questions, you're going to be able to build that case that Colton, you were just asking about. So urgency and overlap. Why do we need this and why now? We were fine up until right now. Like everything was pretty much fine. So what has changed at this point in time and why now? And we have other bets we're constantly trying to evaluate. Why should this one take priority over the other 500 leaders in this company who are trying to vie for their team's product and solution? Why us? Why now? Move yourself up the list. Are there things that do something similar? I get this one all the time. Whether it's pushing for a dialer, well, can't you do that with your cell phone? Can't you do that with Outreach's dialer that's built in? Yeah, of course I can, but what's the impact of that? Oh, you want Clay? You already have Zoom info. What's the difference? You have to bridge that gap for them. Strategic alignment, hit on this a million times, but if you're not attaching yourself to that, it's dead right upon arrival. So figure out what those things are. ROI, yeah, Dave, I was thinking actively, I saw Jordan here myself, so I'll probably push for that. ROI, what bucket does this fall into? It's pretty simple. Just does this improve efficiencies? Does it increase revenue? Or is it mission critical? Mission critical could be something like cyber security or things that just have to happen. But also in my mind, like in BD world, like contact data is mission critical. Having a phone that works is mission critical. Having a sales engagement platform feels mission critical. It's when you start to apply these efficiency levers on top, like a signal-based platform where you could do the job without it, but how much better is it going to make you at your job that you're going to do? And then Candy, that's where a lot of the things that get completely blocked fall into, is it's just kind of a nice to have. And things could be a must have, but if your business case is weak, it falls into that bucket from the eyes of your CFO. What is the ROI and how is it calculated? So walk me through your assumptions. The biggest ones is when it's based on real data or vendor claims. Vendors like to show the best of the best of the best thing you could possibly show, and they just come with a lot of scrutiny behind it. So that's why pilots, POCs, using real data allows you to have a much more bulletproof business case, is when you're talking in actuals, not hypotheticals. And then you have to be able to walk them through your assumptions. Like the math, you have to do the whole math problem in front of them. And I've usually just done workshops where I walk through every assumption. What was the data source of my assumptions? Was it on benchmarks? Was it on internal data? This is where your business case will be either shot through with bullets or you pass through pretty well. How fast is the payback period? This is important too. It's around prioritizing bets. So what's the time to value? If the time to value is 18 months, but you'll get you $1 million, that feels like a long time for me to try to get something. And I don't know if I really want to do that right now. But what if the time to value is 2 months, but I could get 200K back at a 10x multiple? That seems very interesting to me. And then we can expand upon that. So really try to prove that you can shorten the time to value and payback periods is pretty key. Lastly, is this in budget or not? If it's not, guess what? You have to do a trade-off almost every time. And in our world, the biggest lever you have to trade off with is either consolidating other softwares with multiple use cases across them, or you're cutting headcount. Today, fully loaded BDR easily is $100,000 per head per year. So if you think about it, will what you're trying to deploy increase efficiencies or effectiveness across your whole team faster than that one extra headcount? It's actually okay to reduce headcount, complexity, et cetera. You need less data, less territories, et cetera. It used to be these giant teams you want to grow massive, but it's actually better to have these more focused, lean, effective teams right now. It's much easier for you to manage as well. Pricing, you look at usage and seat-based. They just don't want unplanned risk. They don't like variable pricing. So you need to be really bulletproof in how you go about how you're starting and where this could scale up to. All-in costs, don't forget about there's much more cost involved than just paying for something. The change management time, the implementation time, resources being pulled from something else. There's always an opportunity cost and cost of something. It's not as simple as just paying 10 grand for something. And finally, what happens if we decide to do nothing? So you could have incredible everything checked up to there and still get crushed right here. Because if there's no cost of inaction, there's no pain. It's not all about gain all the time. Like if we need to de-risk negative implications. So that COI is critical. So how do I think about this? And I'm flying through just because I got 12 minutes left. So 3E model. This is how I think about. People also want to figure out, how do you think about what tool and what lever you can pull? This was like a coaching model I used, is how to diagnose BD productivity, which is the 3 E's: effort, efficiency, and effectiveness. But you can also put tools into these same buckets. So effort, is there a solution that allows my reps to do more in the same time or free up time? Efficiency, allow me to get into more conversations or more replies ultimately. And effectiveness will allow me to convert more interactions at the same time or generate higher quality things. And a lot of these things could fall into multiple or just one, but we're looking at dialers, AI co-pilots, coaching platforms, conversational intelligence, et cetera. So this is how I try to frame my mind around it. So let's talk about 2 specific examples of things I bought. This one I actually bought, I think 30 days ago, been a client for a long time. So big fan of user gyms. So here's my scenario. All renewals are under scrutiny right now. So I also wanted to put a desired upgrade on there to expand my usage. Every one of your vendors is going to try to expand you because they're having trouble bringing in new business right now too. So I came up for renewal. All softwares require a software committee approval. And since I had really strong ROI from the main use case, which was tracking champions and signals to generate pipeline, I thought this was going to be kind of easy. I was wrong. There's no such thing as easy money right now. So what was my current state of the problem in my situation that I was trying to solve for if I backtrack from user gyms? So my outbound win rates were suboptimal. So if I keep generating leads at the same win rate, I could keep throttling volume, but just throw it at the wall. You're only going to get so much back. So that's expensive. And a lot happens after the BD generates the opportunity. So what is really in my control to generate higher outbound win rates? 2, the implication of low win rates is pipe coverage is not great. Like if we're attaining our top-down targets and our forward-looking coverage was not our standard of excellence, this causes a fun finger-pointing game internally as well. So I really don't love that. And then there's forecast risk, which is the ultimate implication of all of this. Because we're not having the right looking forward coverage, we're adding forecast risk. Risk makes us do stupid shit. Over discount, bring in the wrong type of deals, etc. So that was what I wanted to solve for. So my thought process was this. I think about the 3 E's. I needed higher quality. So what do? I look at my effectiveness level. Could I find a lead source that had a higher than average win rate or velocity? So upon my data review, I looked at Gong. I started listening to calls that were close won, the hidden stuff that's not obvious in your close won, like notes. And I started to see a massive trend that people that were new to role in a core persona, people that had past brand familiarity with us, people that evaluated us in the past, and people that were past champions. The third one's kind of a no-brainer, but the B was really the biggest one, was people that we had talked to before that didn't necessarily close the business. So all these things point to user gyms, but we're already doing all of that. So, but my thought is there more out there? Was there more I could do? So I worked with their CEO and I found if we could find more user gyms where we had a 30% win rate on outbound, which is pretty massive for my company at least, we could easily model this out. So if we look at consumption, the number of contacts we track, we could find more user gyms. It'll be predictable. We get a certain amount of pipeline, certain amount of revenue, and a certain amount of spend on credits. All things that my CFO loves. And if you start to then think about the mental model of what they're looking at, lead sources. Think about it as a lead source then. How much are we paying on Google Ads? How much are we paying on Zoom Info or content syndication? And then look at the cost per lead on user gyms with a higher conversion rate. So The task was simple: find more user gyms if you can, but where? So here's the data that backed up my thing. So I identified that, just like most people, AEs don't love doing a lot of admin work. I get it. There's a lot of people in our demos. We sell enterprise learning management. Sometimes there's up to 10 to 15 people on the call. We only associated 1 to 2 people on the opportunity though. So there's 8 people in the background across thousands of deals, across thousands of years that we didn't know about. So using their meeting assistant, we were able to identify around 40,000 people that we had evaluated potential in the past that we weren't tracking. Those people would then be somewhere else with the new enroll, and they also had familiarity with us in our brand. So we found 10,000 of those were mid-market and enterprise. Our historical data showed 5% of those meetings would happen. So we got around 500 meetings from that list that we would generate. Our ops moved to about 50%. So around 250 op estimate. At our segment average, about 125K. We take out, 75 to 125K. We take out around 250 ops, gives us $20 million in pipeline. At our projected win rate of 30% of this investment will yield around $6 million in revenue. So you show a table, I think it's really good to show potential outcomes. That seems like incredibly strong. So what would it look like with the conservative estimate of maybe we only book 2.5% of them to a meeting? Maybe we move these at 25% to op. Like maybe we only close at 20%. So you show your different outcomes that could happen. And the investment required was only 40K. So we had an expected pipeline ROI at the highest of 500 to 1. Good benchmarks is $10 to 1. And expected ROI is $3 to $6 million. I tied that back into my OKR of 1 was going up market into the enterprise, and 2 was around stage progression, getting more from stage 2 to 3. So tying those to corporate projections was really a good time. And then payback period was only 6 months because our sales cycle is around 4 to 6 months in mid-market. And it would only take 1 deal to pay back this entire thing. So there's a lot more to my business case behind this, but these are like the major themes of it. So that was one that got done, but it still wasn't easy. I thought it would just be, sure, we'll add 40K and I'll generate this. Give me your money. Not that simple. So, and then the second idea was around Titan X was a net new purchase. This was something that I didn't have budgeted for. So this was even harder than user gyms, which was an existing vendor. So here's my scenario again. No new headcount, higher targets. Great. So I think we're all feeling this a little bit. I was not getting any headcount approved, and I looked at my goals for next year and the year after, and I had a gap in between my planned capacity, what I said I could deliver. And if I wasn't able to pull another lever on how effective my team was, I was going to be in trouble. And this is when most every one of us, if we don't know what to do, we're going to default to more. I need more calls. I need more emails. I need more volume, but that comes with diminishing return. So what do? Channels weren't enough. Current channels weren't. So email performance is real. The decline. I talk to all y'all all the time, and we're all feeling this. No matter how much effort we put into email, and I put a lot into it, the returns seem limited. Most my reply rates are around 2 to 4% at the high end, and we were not going to close the gap with what we've done over the last 9 months. So next, AI SDR was underwhelming. Specifically, like full-blown AI SDRs. I think that we haven't seen much there. Everyone wants them, but no one wants to respond to them. And I've already deployed a dialer. I'm a big fan of dialers. But while my team deployed that, the connect rates right now are just brutal, especially in enterprise, almost 1 to 2 times. So even if I could do 300 calls per day, that requires a significant amount of data for me to feed into my system. And then my list gets diluted. Spam risk goes up as you throttle volume. So it was helpful, but it wasn't enough to close the gap. So here's my thought process. Since I've already deployed effort and effectiveness with AI co-pilots, my dialer, user gyms, etc., could I find a way to get us into more conversation that worked alongside my existing investments? So upon speaking to the market, I found an interesting solution that not many people have tried yet. It's phone intent by Titan X. The idea that based on human behavior, 20% of your market picks up the phone. What if you just knew at the beginning who picked up the phone? Wow, it sounds pretty awesome. So it claimed that you can increase connects by 5 to 8x with no new tech, no new headcount, no new process or data. So that sounded less risky to me and my peers and executives. And I was actually able to do a paid pilot. So again, that de-risked it because I could use real data back from the POC, made my business case easier and less hypothetical. And then based on such a large impact potential and low lift, I quickly came back to launch a pilot for it. So, don't be afraid to fail like if the prize is so massive. And since my 50-person BD team is easily $5 million plus, I just think of all these things as I'm de-risking my $5 million operation here. So that's how you can think with your team as well. So here's, I put the AE to work. You know, these are things that they help me make. So we just model out the current state versus the desired state. So PRL would be type next enhanced, but these are my real data points. So I was living in a world of 2.5% connect rates, 9% meeting rate, not bad, not amazing, but not bad. And so over the phone each month in the enterprise, we're setting about 3 meetings a month. You throw an email, you throw in LinkedIn on top of that, you're getting to about, 7 to 8 meetings a month or something like that. But phone is by far the most effective, but it was inefficient. So what if you just change the throttle at the top of connect rates? How does that impact the whole funnel moving down? Pretty dramatic lift if you look at that. So what does that look like over the cost of time? It starts to get pretty dramatic when you start to look at it. So these are things that we were hypothetical, were they proven? They're actually proven. So this was really the money slide that got my CFO's attention. I had to blur it out just for actuals, but it got down to straight up to cost per opportunity and cost per acquisition. What we found is we were able to 7x reduce the cost per op and cost per acquisition by increasing our connect rates by about 10x. So even conservative estimates really throttle that down. And what you're also able to do is you're able to save money on headcount. So in our pilot, we were able to raise our enterprise connect rates from 2 to 20. Reps were able to have 9x more output in the phone per month. So these are pretty massive stints. So I started to make it more conservative. Is it possible to scale that forever at that, production? Probably not. So let's water it down a little bit as we get through to get more conservative. So we were basically finding that a current rep enabled by Type Next was able to do 3x more production at a ramped rep equivalent. What that looked like, $40 million in pipeline additional just from my enterprise BDR team. And we also found we were able to save $1 million in headcount cost because we had a ratio of 1-to-1. That's pretty generous. I don't think many people have that right now. So that was one of my strategic goals, was produce more with less money as well. So I was able to move down to 1-to-2 and likely 1-to-3. And what does that mean? That means that this funds itself. That is like the ultimate goal you could ever have, is I'm actually making a trade-off with headcount to fund this and pay for more than I even need, so I can then think about investing elsewhere. And that actually is what allowed me to start investing in other things throughout the year, was I saved myself $750K that I can then go innovate with. And that's what it's all about. So if you think about that cost of an action, a 7x reduction on the opposite side of that is a 7x increase every day of cost that it takes to acquire meetings. And that's happening every day, every second. And then I start to extrapolate this across my mid-market and other teams, and it starts to get pretty wild. So these are the things, again, on the payback period, the OKRs, but I know I'm right at time, so I think I finished pretty close there. So just remember, attach yourself to priorities, listen and observe, ask if you don't know what they are, but you have to be attached to a boardroom level priority if this is not a budgeted product that you're going to try to get over the line. But every executive right now wants you to find the edge. They want you to bring something to them. I don't want you to be discouraged. Everyone is asking for these things. They don't know. You're the expert. Go find it, but just know that it's going to take more than just a good idea to get it done. It's going to take a lot of thought, and you have to put your name on the line about it, but that's exciting at the same time to get it done. Deliver company level wins. If you do that, that's also how you start going from manager to director and director to senior director, because you start operating well above your pay period right now. If any manager brought me something even close to this, I would be so stoked, like that they're thinking this way. No one is doing that right now. You're like, this helps enable your boss to look good too, I promise you. So deliver that company level win, give yourself a win. And then build the case. So use that checklist, poke holes in your case, fight for pilots, fight for pilots, because tell them it's going to help you get the deal done easier too. Build that momentum internally, get other people evangelizing and excited about this idea. By the time I got most of my stuff done, I had a lot of people that were excited about it. I have Jess Elliott on the call right now, who is my RevOps partner, and she could probably attest to the fact that When I want something, we'll get it done. Be willing to put your name on the line. It comes with the territory. Like I had to say, yeah, if this fails, I own this 100%. So if that scares you, build a case that makes it de-risk for you to put your name on the line. Be willing to make trade-offs. You got to be flexible. You're not going to just get money for no reason. And then pitch like the CFO. De-risk, de-risk, de-risk. Figure out your cost of an action because everything can go well. But if you don't have something that has negative implications of continuing to do it the same way, it could be done next quarter. It could be done a following quarter. And then tie yourself to CAC and cost per meeting. So that's everything here today. I am so open to chat with any of y'all. Hit me up. I'll be on LinkedIn. I'm in the SDR Leaders USA group in Slack. If you want to talk about getting some tech done, if you're curious about user gems or Titan X or anything else I've deployed, I'm an open book. So thanks for the time. I really appreciate it. Dave, over to you.
Rob, that was great. Thank you ever so much. And I believe you're sharing the deck as well.
Yeah, I'll share it out for sure. Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. Thank you ever so much, Rob. And thanks everyone for joining. I'm sure we'll see many of you over the next few weeks in real life as well. Really stoked for that. Sorry, Rob, I won't be able to see you in Atlanta, but one day, see each other. Thanks ever so much, everyone.
Cool. Thanks.
Let people